friends, it's Mrs. Ross today, and I wanted to show you something in writing that might be new to you. And it's something that we usually do toward the end of kindergarten every year, and it rolls over to the beginning of first grade. So we are getting you guys ready to be first grade writers. Now today, we're going to divide our paper up in writing. You can see that I've put the date up at the top for, that means April, -23-20, and I drew my line down at the bottom. Russell likes to make his appearance in our video every week. And I drew my line down at the bottom so that I could do my writing down here. Now, remember, the picture is the planning piece. And so in the picture, I'm going to do something different today. I'm going to draw a line right down the center of my paper. And I'm going to stop right there. Because remember, I'm just working on the picture right now. The bottom is left for the words, so I don't want to draw a line all the way down through that because that would mess up the word part. So up at the top, I'm going to write a B on this side. The B stands for beginning. And I'm going to write an E on this side, and the E stands for end. So we're going to have two parts of our planning page, the beginning part and the end part. So my story is not just going to have one sentence. It's not going to say, I had dinner. I could maybe start with, I made dinner with my family and then we cleaned up the dishes. Or maybe I made dinner with my family and then we got to eat the spaghetti. So those are all different beginnings and ends that we could do to a story. It's going to have more than one sentence. So as I'm thinking about my story, we haven't done a lot lately. We haven't been able to go anywhere because we're stuck at home. So I was thinking about what I did in the yard, and I started looking at our yard, and I decided that we had some trees. They're apple trees, and they don't bloom for us, and we don't get apples. And I love these trees. They're really pretty, but they're in a shady spot, and they need to be in a sunny spot. So I asked my neighbor friend, do you think you would like to have some apple trees? Because she's got a very sunny backyard. She said, sure. So she came right up, and Mr. Ross and my friend Diane started digging. I helped a little bit, but my wrists still aren't very good, so I didn't do too much. So I have these two big apple trees, and when we dug them, they just had the little sticks on them. So there weren't any flowers or there weren't any leaves. It's just the bare branches. So there was one, and then there was one other that's a little bit shorter, and it had kind of weird branches that went way off to the side. But here's my two apple trees. Now they kind of have wiggly branches. So I better label those. Apple trees. So we've got the apple trees, and then here's Mr. Ross. And Mr. Ross has a little bit of hair. And remember, I do a circle for his head and an oval for the body. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just using shapes. Now Mr. Ross is going to be digging, so I'm going to have him holding the big shovel. I better label that shovel. And then I'm going to label Mr. Ross. And this is my friend Diane. Diane has kind of short hair like me. And she's got a shovel. And I'm not doing perfect drawings, but that's okay. So this is my friend Diane. And I've got to squeeze me in somewhere, so I'm going to squeeze me in over here by the apple word. And here's my hair. And I'm just going to kind of put my body right behind that word. And I'm going to write me. M-E. Now I've got me, I've got the apple trees, I've got my friend Diane and Mr. Ross, and we've got our shovels, and they're ready to dig up the trees. And I think I'm going to label that. I'm going to label dig, dig, d, I, g. Okay, so we're going to dig up the apple trees. Now then, the apple trees were so light, because they're small, they could just carry them. So once we got them all dug up, they just carried them right down to the next place. And they planted them at Diane's house, and she's got a really pretty backyard. And she's got some pretty rocks, and she's got pretty plants over here. And so she found 2 good places for the apple trees. Better draw them a little bigger. And now it's kind of exciting because we transplanted them a while ago. And now that it's getting to be more spring-like, the trees are changing, and I'm kind of excited. I'm going to get a little bit of color out here because now that we've transplanted them, we're starting to get some little buds on them. Not big leaves yet, but just like these little itty-bitty buds that feel like they're about to pop out to be leaves. So I'm going to put some of those on so you can tell that the tree is just coming to life. And then there's some, I know they haven't done it yet, but I know that once these open up here, we're going to have some little pink flowers on those. So that is just going to be so fun. Now, I don't want to spend all my time drawing and have you sit and watch me draw, so I'm going to get to the writing part. But first, I'm going to retell my story so I know what I'm going to say. We had 2 apple trees that needed to be moved because they weren't getting enough sun. So my friend Diane and Mr. Ross and Mrs. Ross dug up the apple trees. We took them down to my friend Diane's house, and she has lots of sun in her backyard. Maybe I'll draw a little cloud over here to remind me that mine's all shady. And the trees are doing really well now that they've been transplanted to a different location. So now I need to figure out what sentences I want to say, because that would be a lot to write. I don't want to write that much. I just want to write a couple sentences. My beginning sentence, I'm going to say, we dug. Now I want to point out, you guys know how to do those words. We is one of our sight words, and you know that one. W-E, we, W-E. Dug, we can just sound out. D-U-G. We dug up, up. So far, all of those words are either really easy or they're sight words. That's why our sight words are really important to practice, because those can help us when we do our writing. We dug up our trees. If I wanted to add more detail, I could have even said apple trees. And then I'm going to say, they are doing well at Diane's house. They are doing well at Diane's. And I'm going to use a little apostrophe right there. It's kind of like a comma, but it's up high. And that means that it's her house that we're writing about. At Diane's house. And I'm going to put a period at the end of my sentence, because all sentences are going to end with some sort of punctuation, like a period, question mark, or exclamation. So today, I want to come back to the things that we really worked on. We did beginning and end of a story. So as you're thinking about what you want to write, draw a line down the middle of the picture part and draw a picture of what happens at the beginning of the story you're about to tell and what happens at the end of the story that you're about to tell. Mine had 2 sentences that I decided to write down. If I wanted to write more, I could definitely add more details. We dug up our trees. They are doing well at Diane's house. Just a reminder, if you're forgetting to put spaces in between your words, you can always get your spaceman out or use your fingers and make a space after every word that you write. Remember spaceman? Spaceman, spaceman, he has a job to do. Spaceman, spaceman, he leaves a space for you. So we can use that to put our spaces right there, okay? I'd love to see your writing. If you want to take a picture of it and send me an email, I'd love to see what you're doing, especially if you're trying beginning and end of the story. That would be awesome. So, see you guys later. Try to draw and write every day this week, and don't forget, science counts as writing too.